Hey friends, hey family, it's been a while, it's been a minute. My last video share was over a month ago and it was a good break for me. I've been itching to come on the last little bit though and share about some things, some funny stories and some synchronicities, especially the day after I had shared my last video. And how I closed that one was reading a few little passages from Eileene McKusick's book. I believe it was Electric Health, Electric Body. Electric Health, Electric Body. Yeah. And I had to turn open to the right foot and the right hip. And the imbalance, like she sees in most people, from the right hip, is from overthinking, overanalyzing, that hyper monkey mind kind of a thing that we kind of all have been taught to operate from or operate in. And yeah, the mind going 1,000 miles a minute and spinning and spinning, and how that can create weaknesses in certain parts of our field and all of that. And the right foot was about the fear of the unknown and like that, stepping out of the unknown zone. And so she had shared a little story about falling on the ice a couple years ago when she had been dithering about making a decision, and she had twisted her ankle and slipped on some ice. And yeah, just kind of connecting those sorts of things, and what kind of she did to help herself come back into balance, and yeah, how her body amazingly like healed in just a couple of hours and all of that. And so yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I had no idea like how is that relating, but I knew in a lot of ways that we are asking, or we're being asked to step out of our comfort zone and into the unknown, stepping out of what we think we know so that we can receive like our true inner knowing. And so just kind of working with those things, because everything is so uncertain right now. Like nothing is for sure, nothing is guaranteed. And so I feel like we do have a lot of mental strategies and mental hoops and feedback loops that we can get stuck in, because we want to reassure ourselves sometimes, or have that sense of security, or our ego that's cut off from everything else wants to secure its own place or preserve its little self. And so, yeah, I can totally relate to that, and just living right now in these uncertain times of kind of got to reassess a little bit like what we think we know, what we think we're certain of. And a lot of it has been a lot of assumptions and inferences and some of the stories to reinforce like our own stories and our own side of things, or our own beliefs or our own identities in those things. And a lot of the time, like the things that we believe or that we think we know, they are just not true, or they are missing. They're lacking, yeah, a full true view. And if we're only looking at it from one angle, one perspective, or one side of things, we're, there's some blind spots there, and we're not taking in like the full truth of it. And so it is kind of tricky, yeah, this time of letting go. But yeah, there's some funny things that happened. I was getting ready for a trip so I can go meet my husband, and we spent a week in Missouri, which was really fun and great for us. So I had, you know, um, some preparations to do. I was up late that night getting my things packed so I could get on my flight the next morning and all of that. And yeah, just a little bit. Some of these things, like I don't really enjoy like flying all that much, or traveling, or even going to the airport. But and doing that like alone too was a little bit intimidating. But it was like, oh, I can do this, and um, I have like so much help So it just makes it that easy for me. And so it's just like, just show up for it, and you'll be okay, and everything, yeah, everything all is well. And so, yeah, I got to the airport like even early, and um, it's just kind of funny. As soon as I got there and walked in the doors, and I got like a notification, oh, your flight is delayed a couple hours, and yada yada. And so I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm here for like 3 or 4 hours just to hang out and wait for my flight that's been delayed and all of that. And so just like walked up and down the airport, just killing time and looking around, yeah, for stuff, for nourishment and all of that kind of thing. And yeah, was walking around in these new shoes, which were pretty comfortable and I felt just fine in. And so I walked around for hours, and I was fine doing that. And then got on my flight, and all that was super smooth, and everybody was nice and like really super helpful. And it was like actually a good morning, and I wasn't like disappointed or wasn't feeling like I was too attached to my expectations or anything like that. And so I was just like, all right. And just in that space of gratitude and love and trust and everything like that. And then we landed fine, and it was, yeah, it was great. It was a great flight, and like nothing, yeah, nothing was wrong at all. So it's just kind of funny, like, some of my old strategies were to look for what was wrong, or to maybe look or scan for a threat so I could fix it, so I could feel safe. But I totally didn't need to do any of that mental strategizing or anything. And um, yeah, it just felt like I was carried, and I was supported, and I was helped, because I am. And was so super excited. Got off the plane, and my husband was waiting right there for me to help me with my bags and stuff. And um, he had to park in another part of the airport because he had like a lot of luggage, like a luggage rack on our truck, and yeah, I couldn't clear like the low parking garage or whatever that was there, and so we walked out to a different part of the airport that wasn't as maintained and whatnot. And I was just kind of feeling, not grounded, a little bit not grounded. Since landing and all of that, and it's just kind of like not really paying the most attention to where I was stepping. But this parking lot had been ripped up, and so I actually did. We were like maybe 10-15 feet away from our truck, and my ankle went into a hole, and I totally twisted it and came down really, really hard on my knee. And it happened so fast, like within a half of a second. And I just kind of like, oh, that just happened. It was like, well, dang. I slammed hard with my full force down on my left knee, and just kind of jumped back up again and looked at my knee. And I was so surprised that the thin leggings that I was wearing, they did not rip. And so I was just like, wow, that's insane. Like, I thought like that kind of a force, like falling like that, would have ripped open my pants, but it didn't. It totally left a huge gash in my knee, though. I have a tattoo on my knee, and it scraped. It scraped the top layer and some tissue off of my knee, but it's just so weird how it happened. And yeah, my ankle felt a little bit like a little tweaked and a little sore, but it was mainly like, oh man, what did I do to my knee? I was like very concerned about that. And it was the second fall in 20 years that I've had that's been exactly like that. But the difference about it was like, yeah, the state of mind that I was in 20 years ago versus like how my state of mind has changed, in the last couple of years. And when I fell the first time, like 20 years ago, oh, I felt so burdened and so inconvenienced and so embarrassed and so just angry about it, angry with myself. Because I was wearing a new pair of jeans that I totally like shredded, and I was more mad about like the hole that I had put in my pants and like the injury that had come to myself. And yeah, back then, and it seemed like it took me maybe a couple months to heal back then. And I was just so irritated about, like, because I had been so stressed. I was late for something, and then I had to go do a couple things, and yeah, it's just like, why is this happening to me? Kind of a attitude. Whereas like this last recent fall was like, oh, okay. And it was just like kind of, oh, honey, are you okay? You know, are you all right? Instead of like, oh, you klutz or whatever, you know, kind of a thing. And so, yeah, it was more like empathy and compassion and just like reception for myself after, you know, I had experienced that. And I told myself, yeah, this doesn't have to be traumatic. You know, this doesn't have to be. Like, this doesn't have to be anything other than it is. And like, wow, thank you. If that was all it was, like really to kind of show me like where I had like a weakness in my field and how I could care for myself and how I can strengthen that and everything. So my ankle was a little bit bruised, and there was an area between two of my toes that was forming like a purple bruise, and on the inside of my ankle there was a little bit of swelling and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't bad. Like, and but looking at my knee, oh gosh, we went and bought like a whole bunch of yeah, wound dressings and some manuka honey and some colloidal silver and some different things, like, yeah, to help me with that little injury. And it looked terrible, and it bled a lot. And but it, you know, the surprising thing about it was that it didn't really hurt. And I was just kind of like, well, that's odd. It's not really that painful, like as painful as I would expect from how bad it kind of looked. And like what kind of, yeah, what kind of force there was that had ripped off like this skin and this tissue and everything from my knee. And the weird thing was too that I was super surprised about is it didn't really hurt my actual knee or my kneecap. I still had mobility, and it was just fine. It was just like the skin that had been ripped off. And so it's just like, okay, if that's all this is, and you know, I'll take that, and I'll say thank you, and you know, it's no big deal, and I'll just do what I need to do. I wasn't telling myself stories like, oh no, my vacation's ruined, now I can't go on walks, and blah blah blah. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like, oh, okay, this happened, you know, and this is what I get to do to take care of myself, and like I'm okay. So I feel like that made like a huge difference. But the funny thing is the left foot that I hadn't read yet, and I have not read yet, but I get to go pick that back up and do a little investigating. The left foot was feeling stuck in a toxic situation, like unable to move forward, and so like the right foot and the left foot. So it was like really so the right foot is, yeah, the fear of the unknown, and the left foot is, you know, feeling stuck or mired in a toxic situation. Not exactly sure what the left knee is all about, but yeah, I just thought it was super interesting, like kind of making these little connections. And oh, I've had this kind of a fall before, but it's like so different. Yeah, even though it had affected the right foot and the left knee 20 years ago. So yeah, just kind of funny, interesting, and yeah, it's been about a month now, and yeah, I have new skin already growing there, like no problems at all, like with my knees or anything. So yeah, I feel super lucky, and like if it was gonna happen like that, it was the best case scenario. Yeah, so just wanted to share that. And there was some fun synchronicities that we did have on our trip, and a lot of things coming up around the number two. And so it was just kind of ridiculous, like how many twos there were, like on my flight number, on my actual like seat. Number two. And then in all of the different places that we stayed on our travels, like there was a two or multiple twos. Um, that was our room numbers. Yeah. And so it was just really humorous and an interesting, really amazing trip that my husband and I got to share some amazing conversations, exchanges, and intimacy. And yeah, I feel like this is a new chapter and a new beginning, for new levels of, yeah, being authentic and sharing that intimacy together, and sharing our growth and our expansion. Yeah, that we get to go through in our own ways and together. And so it's really exciting and awesome. And there's been so many amazing things. Been so kind of happy, crazy, silly, busy with different creative things and moving forward and nurturing certain projects and yeah, nourishing like different relationships that we have with others and ourselves. And so I'm super grateful and really like humbled and feeling like a deeper trust in so many ways. And that, and I do appreciate that all of these things that are unfolding for us are happening for us and happening for our growth and for our discovery and for our knowing and our becoming who we really are, and shedding all those layers and those old blocks and those old beliefs and those old identities that keep us from actually being like who we truly are. And so have a lot of compassion for the overwhelm that a lot of people I've seen and I care about are going through right now, and just want to send love and blessings to everyone, to all of us, for all of us, and wherever we are and however we're going through our own journey of growth and returning home to ourselves. So I wanted just to share like a few of those things, and I'll be back this week to share a little more. So I love y'all. Take good care of yourselves and be love for yourselves. We'll see you for now.